Alright, so remember we ran this and discovered that being extremely careful about the placement of this elbow and the fuel tank when it gets put back together means that we can precisely get the O-ring just to touch inside there and seal so that we don't have the air leak behind the carburetor here. But then when I ran this the other day, I discovered that there is now a compression leak blowing past the O-ring right here next to the spark plug and into the water reservoir. So I'm going to have to pull this out to get the cylinder liner out and take a look at sealing that up or figuring out what's wrong or seeing if I ruined the O-ring or something. So first things first, the linkage for the intake slide valve, and then I know that I thought that these screws would be easier, but it turns out taking the whole bracket off from underneath for the fuel tank is the better option. So I'm going to pull these screws out. There we go. There we are. Now that can pop out of the way, and get the top and bottom screws that hold the intake valve in place off the side here. Just so that that is all out of the way. Alright, and then pop the muffler off. And remember, I had the muffler on upside down to get it out of the way of messing with the exhaust valve in this here, but discovered that having the muffler weight up here really unbalanced the engine. So when you assemble it, make sure you're always putting the muffler back underslung. And then I'm just going to take that end of the rod out, and that's right, this is all very low clearance, so I have to use there's not room for the nut driver on either of these two spots, so getting the that arm for this exhaust rod out of the way is easier to take the lock nut off this pin than it is to get the small nut off the back of the rod. And now we can get the head off. Oh, oh yeah, there's a ton of water getting up in there. It's all blown all the way up in here, so definitely need to seal that cylinder a lot more. So and now pull the piston all the way down and see if, there we go. Yep, that's not sealing because all of these O-rings, very loose and cut up, it looks like. So I'm gonna wipe this down real good and take a moment to wipe and clean out all the water that's, you can see all the filthy oily water that's in there. And I'm going to pull this reservoir off, and I am going to take a minute to wipe all this oily reservoir out of, or oily residue out of here, and then make a plan for how to get this cylinder back in. And I'm just going to suck it up and put some sealant behind the rings here, but I need to decide whether I'm going to put it part way in and then try to get sealant in through these holes, or just attempt to very carefully put sealant behind these O-rings and rely on the O-rings to push the sealant all the way down the bore. So, but that is a decision I need to make after I clean everything up. So step one, we're going to stop the camera and I'm going to get some cleaning done. Okay, I was looking at this and I did decide pretty quickly that for easier access and cleaning, to put the cylinder back in and seal it properly, I am going to take the cylinder body off of the engine. So I've already loosened the 6 bolts that hold the bottom end to the cylinder, and I'm going to take these 4 here that hold the cylinder to the base. And if you remember the last time we took this apart, this settles right down because there's nothing on the underneath, just a spot for that bearing to sit. So pull that off to the side, and then that gives me access to loosen these 4 bolts more to get this off of here. And that way I'm going to be able to just turn this any direction I need to get that put in place. And there is all the gooey, oily stuff, and actually that makes this way easier. Now that I have access to both ends of this really easily, I can put a little bit of sealant on this end as I push from that way, and then I can put a little in from the top end when I get there, so I won't be trying to push it all the way through. But first, got to clean that out.